guys, it's Mo and welcome back to another Friday Reads video. I'm glad to start doing these, hopefully at least semi-regularly. So first off, let's go ahead and talk about some of the books that I have read so far this month. I've actually had a pretty good reading month so far. I guess, well, today's like around the 17th, so it's like pretty much this is going to be almost like a mid-month wrap-up. I have read more books than I thought I would have, considering that I'm going back to work full-time at the beginning of this month, but audiobooks, I've been back into audiobooks again, and those really help with my reading because I'm always like listening to those either when I'm like driving places or getting ready and cleaning the house and stuff. So far this month I've gotten to 10 books, and one of those I didn't finish, which maybe I can just start off with that one. So there's a book, it's called Autumn by Alison, and it's part of the seasonal quartet, and I believe the last one, Summer, just came out, and I was wanting to buy the series, but I've been lately really good at trying to read some of the first book, or at least only buy the first book in a series before I commit to the whole thing. But in the case with these books, I really love the hardback versions of them. I think I came across them on Bookstagram, but to get the hardback of Autumn is really rare because I don't know why, just maybe they didn't really publish as many, and I only could find them on eBay, and it was really more money than I was wanting to spend for one single book. So and I did want to have all the books in matching, either all of them on hardback or all of them in paperback. So I checked out, it was available right away, Autumn, from my library, so I figured I would start reading it first to see if it was even a book that was going to stay on my shelves or not, which was a very smart idea to do because I didn't even end up finishing this book. It was really short. How to explain what it was about? It's very different writing. I wouldn't say it's like super experimental, but it's just like very like kind of slightly experimental with the way of writing. I was really disappointed because I really wanted to get into this book, but I just wasn't into the writing. I wasn't into the characters. I didn't really care what was happening. I didn't really get the point of the book or what was really going to happen, and I made it quite a way through the book. Like, I think I was 50-ish pages from the end, and it was already a really short book, and so I was like 80% of the way in, and I just had no desire to keep going, and I just found myself getting really irritated. I don't know why, just because I didn't care about the book. I don't know why, it's just giving me an irritated mood, and that's why I gave it 1 star, which I hardly ever give books 1 star. Usually if I don't finish a book, I don't rate it at all, but because I was so close to the end, I felt like I had wasted a lot of my time reading the book. Well, it wasn't even a lot of time, just the time that I had spent. I felt like it was a little bit of a waste. But I am glad that I read it because then I know I didn't waste money on actually purchasing this book and then having to unhaul it. I know I didn't really say anything much about what the plot is, so we're following 2 characters, Daniel and Elizabeth. Daniel is older, Elizabeth's like supposed to be more of an eccentric character. We're going back and forth in timeline. A lot of this part of the narrative is like dream-ish, kind of like dream-like episodes or stuff, and a lot of memories in the past. We're just doing a lot of jumping around in the timeline, and it just didn't really work for me. So there's 2 books. I'll talk about the 2 books I read that I don't actually have physical copies of here with me. The first one I finished today, and it's Transcendent Kingdom by Gyasi. I was able to use my library to get an ebook of this book, and it was one of my most anticipated books of this year. I really enjoyed Homecoming, I think or Homegoing, and her other, I believe it was her debut novel. And so I've been really excited for this one to come out. And I ordered a physical copy from Book of the Month. It's really hard to find a copy of this book without those ugly like publishing stickers on the front. Even when I went to Target, I think it had like the Read with Jenna sticker, one of those ones you can't take off, and I just like, can't stand those. I think it's so ugly, especially specifically for this book when it's such a beautiful cover. To mess it up with all of these unnecessary stickers on it is kind of annoying. So I bought the Book of the Month edition because that one at least didn't have any stickers on it that were besides just like the Book of the Month branding. And I rejoined Book of the Month, and there when you rejoin you get your first month free, so I basically got this copy of the book for free. I think I'll be getting it like sometime next week, and I did enjoy this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was, I think, just a little bit overhyped in my mind, but for what I thought it was going to be, I was like really genuinely expecting it to be a 5-star book. While it was really good, it wasn't 5 stars for me. We're following our main character. She is a scientist and she's having to deal with science and her faith, and also dealing with a lot of family stuff. So her family immigrated to America from Ghana, and we're following her, her parents, her brother, their different relationships, stuff that she has going on with her work and her research, stuff that she has going on with her colleagues, a lot of just I would say like introspection on herself. Like she's also reading some journal entries and stuff from when she was a kid, and I thought it was really good, but it was more of like a quiet book. Just a lot of the character, while she is dealing with like some external struggles with like family and stuff, a lot of internal struggles as well. Like I said, like with her scientific beliefs and her faith beliefs. I thought it was a really good book. I would definitely recommend if it was something that was on your radar, but I was just like I said, slightly disappointed because I just really wanted it to be a 5-star book, and it wasn't that for me, unfortunately. The other book that I read was for the Zoom book club that I'm a part of, and it's called The Moon Spinners by, I'm gonna forget the author's name now. Okay, so this is by Mary Stewart, and this is one of the first books I believe I finished in this month, and I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I got the audio book from Audible, and I think I just might have not given it the best chance anyway, because I was trying to listen to it the week that I was going back to work, and I just had so much stuff going on that I was having to do, and a lot of stuff that was on my mind, that I didn't really give this audiobook the 100% of my attention all the time when I was listening to it. But it was still easy enough to follow along, figure out what's going on. So we're following this girl. She's on vacation in Greece, and she gets ends up getting wrapped up in this mystery with these like local people who are part of like, who are thugs or like part of a gang or something that happens. She comes across these guys who witnessed a murder. Right off the bat, she's wanting to help them in their situation that they're in, and she's also in danger herself. I just thought it was okay. Like I said, I didn't give it as much attention as I should have when I was listening to it, but I feel like even if I had paid more attention or read the novel physically, I wouldn't have probably rated it any more than a 3-star book. It just wasn't something I would have picked up probably on my own anyway. So well, that one was just okay. I'll probably forget about it, honestly. It wasn't super memorable to me. Now let's get to this stack here of physical books that I have gotten to so far this month. We'll just work our way backwards through this. So the first one was Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. I got this really beautiful edition from Waterstones, and in this book we're following a 12-year-old boy. His name is Edward, and he is the only survivor of this plane that crashes in the United States, and I believe there's about 191 people it was that died in this plane crash, and he's dealing with having lost his whole family at once, dealing with that grief, and also dealing with just like having to, he ends up living with his aunt and uncle and having to get used to living in like a new family dynamic. A lot of news and media attention is on him because he was the sole survivor. I thought this book was good. We're looking at him and, like I said, dealing with grief and trying to make friends. So he ends up making a friend who I really liked their friendship dynamic between the two of them. But all in all, I gave this book 3 stars. I just thought it was okay. I never felt super connected to any of the characters, which I feel like this is supposed to be a bit more of an emotional book, because we're not just following him. We follow some perspectives of different people that were on the plane crash that died. We are in the plane looking at these people's lives, what they have going on in those moments leading up to the actual plane crash itself. And I just felt like I wanted to feel more from this book than what I got, if that makes sense. And I was fully prepared for this to be like a really emotional book, for it to possibly even make me cry and stuff. And I don't know if it was just me or because I did listen to most of this on audiobook, but I just never really felt that strong connection. Next, we have The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book, you guys. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones that I've read so far this month. This is again on also a Waterstones edition. I really love the sprayed edges on this one. In this one, we are following a brother and sister. They grow up in the Dutch house, and it's this really fancy, over-the-top house mansion type of place that they live in with their family. Their mom actually ended up leaving them when they were very young, and it's kind of about this tie it's kind of like this emotional and physical tie they have to this house and the memories that are attached to it at different stages in their life, because we do follow them pretty far into their lives in this book. When it first starts off, they're kids, and it's just I loved the writing of the book. I felt like the pacing was awesome, the sectioning and everything. Like I said, this was really enjoyable. Like for me, it was almost a 5-star book. I really enjoyed this. This has one of the most annoying characters that I have ever read, or at least I can in recent memory that I can remember. Like there was one part in this book that I read that I just had to put the book down. I was just so annoyed and mad at this character, and I can't even say because I don't want to give away like one of the major like things that happens in the book. But yeah, this is really good and I really enjoyed this book. The dynamic between the brother and sister was really enjoyable to read, and I just really loved their relationship together, and the way that this house is described and how it's just like such a huge part of their lives and their childhood, and it's just so believable, was just really refreshing to me. Next, I read Being Lolita by Alison Wood. This is a memoir that I was sent, and I really enjoyed this book as well. I actually was able to get a copy of the audiobook from my library, so most of this I did listen to on audiobook, and the author herself is the one who narrates it, and she's talking about an inappropriate relationship that she had that started out when she was in high school with her older English teacher, I believe. And it's her like reflecting back on how that came about, how it's affected her. We really go deep into this relationship that started when she was 17, and we see it all play out. She definitely looks at a lot of this relationship through the lens of the book Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. I hope I'm saying his last name right. But they end up having a relationship not just when she's in high school, but afterwards as well. This book gave me some Dear Vanessa vibes. That I read that book recently. I think it was also released this year, but this one is, like I said, nonfiction. The other one was the fictionalized version of that type of relationship. I think that's really good that stories like this are being published so that people can read about people who've gone through this experience, or maybe have gone through these experiences themselves and can see themselves in these kinds of books. I thought this was a good book. Obviously definitely some very strong, definitely some heavy content, a lot of trigger warnings that you would imagine that would go around with this type of topic around these inappropriate kind of relationships. So all in all, I think I gave this book 3 stars. So as far as my rating for this book, like I hate reading memoirs because I'm not reading this person's life or anything, but just based on the writing and the way the author has told the story itself, I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was good. Definitely one that I feel like if it was on your radar, check it out. I continued on with the second book in the Memoir of Lady Trent series, and the second one is The Topic of Serpents. So the first one I ended up listening to mostly on audiobook, and so with the second one I actually wanted to physically read it because I felt like I was getting more out of this series by physically reading it than by listening to it, and I really enjoyed this. I feel like it was a really fun follow-up to the first book. We're going on another adventure with Lady Trent as well. Since as we go on in the series, I'm not gonna really be able to tell you guys too much about what's happening in each book, but in the first one we're following Lady Trent, who this takes place in a very like Victorian like fantasy setting, and women basically have like the same types of things that are expected of them in Victorian times, you know, to stay at home, not really have much of an education, have kids, get married, but she really wants to study dragons, and you know, she goes on to become one of the world's premier dragon naturalists, and she's telling her life story through these memoirs, and this is the second in there's like 5 I believe or so I can't wait to continue on with the rest of the series. I have purchased all of the books so far now, and I will be getting to the third one probably in October, because I'm on hold for the audiobook at the library right now. I kind of like to go back and forth with the audiobook and the physical book with the series. But my rating for this one was 4 stars. Next, we have Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I've been wanting to get this book for so long, and it definitely was good. I gave it 4 stars. We're following a young girl. Her name was Claudia, and so we're following her in her relationship with her friend Monday. Monday has gone missing, like the title says, and it doesn't seem like anybody is noticing or doing anything about it or caring at all. And I listened to this book on audiobook, so there was one thing that I didn't learn, or I would have known sooner about our narrator had I read the physical book, because of the I don't want to give away one of the things in the book, but if I had but if you read the book, then you would know what I'm talking about. If I had actually read the physical book, then there's something that you find out about the narrator that would have made more sense had I been physically reading it. This book does a lot of jumping around back and forth in time, which I found that part a little bit confusing when listening to it on audiobook, but I was able to, for the most part, follow along. I don't want to say too much about the story because I don't want to give away what happens in the end, and I feel like if I say too much, it's going to kind of lead you down the path of thinking of what happens at the end and figuring it out. And I feel like part of the book, what was enjoyable to me was uncovering the mystery of what's happened to Monday over time. But I will say, like, I definitely recommend this book. I very much enjoyed it. I feel like it was very well done. I gave it 4 stars, and I would definitely recommend this book. And the last one that I want to talk about is Written in Blood by Chris Carter, and this is a new release, I believe it came out this year. It's a detective procedural type of book. We're following a few different perspectives. So we're following the detective, the main guy of this book. We're following a woman who is a pickpocket. She ends up stealing a bag that has this diary in it from a serial killer, and the third one is from his perspective. And none of that is spoilers. I checked the front of the book is basically tells you all of that in the plot summary part. This book is actually the 11th book in this series that follows the same detective. So from that, I feel like one thing about police procedural detective series that follow the same detective, I feel like there aren't as high stakes because you know there are a lot of books that are following this main character, and so you know that even though the stakes can seem high at certain parts of the books, you know for the most part that the detective is going to be okay because it's part of a series and there are a lot of books in the series, so you know that your main person is pretty safe for the most part. So I feel like that kind of brings down the enjoyment a little bit just because it does take some of the high stakesness out of the book. But I really did enjoy this book. I read it in 2 days. I gave it 4 stars. I read it completely physically, and I haven't read a mystery thriller book lately at all, and I would say within the past week I've really been wanting to read some more, so this just really put me in the mood to read some more mystery books in general. But yeah, police procedurals, while I do like them, they're not my favorite type of mystery book, but what I did like was that we did follow a regular normal citizen in the book with the character of Angela, who is the one who is the pickpocket. This book definitely has a lot of gore, a lot of violent stuff happening in this book, a lot more than I'm used to reading in books. That was like a very disgusting, and so it's not something I've really experienced a lot reading mystery thrillers. Like the ones that I picked up don't really like describe a lot of things in detail, and I don't mind that. Like I would rather not have those details. I don't need them. That's something I've learned by reading this book, that I do prefer books that don't have a bunch of like gore and stuff in them. But I mean, what can I expect? Just look at the sprayed edges of this book. That was blood. So yeah, if you're looking for a good like police procedural detective mystery thriller, this is definitely one that I would recommend to try out. So now that we've gone through all of the books that I've read so far this month, we can just briefly mention some of the books that I'm currently reading. So I think right now I'm reading like 4, I'm in the middle of like 4 books right now. The first one is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. This is a young adult book that takes place in like the 20s, and I'm really enjoying the writing so far. I went in with a little bit low expectations because I think I had heard someone say that they read this book and didn't enjoy it that much. So I tried not to have too high expectations going into it, but I am really enjoying it so far. I'm almost halfway into this book, so I have a feeling I'll be able to finish this over the weekend for sure. And I love the cover on this, like anything with gold foiling, just I love in general. And like I mentioned before, I've really been wanting to read more mystery thrillers, and I didn't have any on my TBR stack for this month, so I just went on my library and app and found an ebook for something that I already had. And that was All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Clayfith. And so far I am almost like halfway, I'm about halfway into this one as well. I've been listening to this one mainly on audiobook while I've been driving around and stuff, and this mystery has kind of like multi-layered mysteries. So we're following a young woman. She goes to a boarding school, and there's this like secret society that she's becoming a part of, but then there's also the mystery of her mom who disappeared when she was younger. People don't know like if she willingly just like left the family, or if a lot of people believe that her father had something to do with killing her, but they've never found a body or anything. And there's a lot of like mysterious stuff like going on with the mother's side of the family as well. So there's a lot of like tiny little mysteries layered into this, and I think it's pretty good so far. Like, it's not my favorite book, but it's definitely keeping my attention, and I'm definitely curious to see, because I feel like all of these little mysteries are somehow going to be linked together. So I'm curious to see how that happens in the last half of the book. And then I have two books I started at the beginning of the month and I just haven't really made much progress on since. The first is The Lonely City: Adventures in the Art of Being Alone by Olivia Lang. About 100 pages into this one. I'm almost like halfway through this one, and I thought this one was pretty fitting for the times, talking about being alone, and I didn't really know much going into it what it was going to be about, but we're actually following each chapter like a different artist, and how their art and their life can relate to the topic of being alone and loneliness. And it's very interesting and not what all I expected, but I am enjoying it so far. I just haven't picked it back up yet. And the other one is a short story collection, No Presents Please by Jayant Kaikini. And I only read the first, I'm only on page 17, so I only read the first story so far, but I really did enjoy the first story in this. These are all set in Mumbai, and I thought it was just really well done, the first story, and it made me excited to keep continuing on. I just haven't picked it up yet, but I'm hoping that this weekend I can make some more progress in this short story collection. So those are the 4 books I'm going to be working on this weekend. I doubt I will probably finish all 4, but I feel like I can at least maybe do like 1 or 2 of them. And then I believe it's on Monday that the final Buzzwordathon round is going to be starting for, this round is reading books with the word night in them, and it's a readathon hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala. I have somewhere in my like TBR stack behind me 6 books that have the word night in them that I'm planning on getting to sometime next week over the 7-day readathon. Ideally, I would love to finish these 4 books. That way I can just go into the readathon just focusing on those books, but like I said, I highly doubt that that's going to happen, so I might have to finish some of these after the readathon is over, because I really want to try and get all 6 of those books done during the week, although I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that's it pretty much for reading stuff. I put in a couple of book orders recently, and I want to do a haul video, but I'm gonna wait until I get some of those in the mail before I go ahead and do that. But I'm really excited. I also have like some books that are just like sitting in a couple shopping carts on a couple websites, but haven't like gone through yet, because I'm trying to like pace myself and not spend too much money on books and work on what I already have. But then I kind of use books as a reward system. Like whenever I have like a long day at work or a long week at work, I just like to buy books, and it's like my retail therapy, which is terrible. I need to find some other thing to do when I'm feeling like that about work. I was planning on recording today. I'll give you guys a sneak peek of what my video is going to be on Monday. I'm actually really excited to record that video. I was going to do it today, but I'm actually not going to have time because I'm going skating tonight, and probably I have to leave for that in probably about 20 minutes. But I want to do a tour of my little like TBR cart bookshelf thing. I have a cart that I'm currently keeping all of my books with sprayed edges on, and I really love how it looks, and I think it's really cute. And I don't have plans to do any type of like complete bookshelf tours anytime soon with my shelves, just because I'm not like completely satisfied with what they're looking like right now. So eventually maybe I'll do an updated bookshelf tour, but I think that would be really fun to just look at all the ones that have the sprayed edges that I keep stored next to my desk on the side of my room. And I know some of you guys had asked about how my eye surgery went, and thanks so much for, you know, keeping in touch and checking in on me to see that everything went okay. It did go really well. It's been about 3 weeks now, 3 Fridays exactly ago, I think was when I got it done. And definitely it just went like as perfectly as it could have gone, honestly. If you don't care to hear about laser eye surgery, you can like exit the video now. I'm not offended. I know some people do not care about this or don't want to hear about this, but I have had a lot of actually questions of people asking how the surgery was and how it went and my results and everything. So I thought I would just like explain briefly some of that to you guys. So I've always wanted to get laser eye surgery done since I was like a teenager, but my vision was really bad and it was always changing. My family likes to make fun of me and say that it was because I would read a lot when I was younger, like in the dark, and where I would strain my eyes reading and everything. So I don't know if that's true, why I have such bad vision, but it was really bad. So when I went to go get my eye like evaluation and everything, my vision was 20/800. My specific vision I think was like a 7 on one eye and negative 7.0, and then negative 7.5 or something like that on the other one. So it was really bad, and I ended up finding out that I had like mild astigmatism, which is something that they can correct with the laser surgery anyway. And so like I said, I tried to get it done when I was younger, but they don't recommend when your eyes are changing so much to do it that young, to wait until after you're 25, or at least until your vision hasn't changed for 2 years. So the last time I got my vision checked was about 3 years ago, and my eye doctor at the time didn't recommend me to get the surgery done yet. And so now I waited now, and I figured I would do it while I had the time off from work, so I didn't have to lose out on money from work taking time off to get the surgery done, which ended up being perfect because that day I got the surgery was the day that they announced that salons were okay to open back up in California again. So I'm glad that I jumped on it when I did. All in all, I think I had like 3 or 4 consultations with the eye doctor before I got the surgery done. Like, they do a lot of tests and they re-follow up and everything. They want you out of your contacts and wearing your glasses for 2 weeks prior to the surgery, which honestly I was not the best about. I did wear my contacts a few times, but I just hate wearing my glasses. They're not even my current prescription, so I can't see as well with when I'm wearing them. So the day of the surgery, everything was really good. It was like super early in the morning at 6:45, and they give you like Vicodin beforehand to calm you down. And I ended up actually just like taking a nap because there was a girl that her appointment was before me, so they like take her back and everything, and I ended up like just falling asleep waiting for it to be my turn. And then when it was my turn, the surgery was really quick. It was like 15 minutes, and since I didn't have my contacts or glasses on anyway, I couldn't see anything, which was a really good thing. And I had the Vicodin, so I was just like not even there, honestly. And the surgery itself, like I said, was really fast. You don't feel any pain. They give you numbing eye drops, and it is scary at one point because there's a point where your eyes are open but everything goes black and you don't see anything, like your vision's completely gone. And that part was a little bit scary, but it wasn't that bad because it was only for about like 30 to 45 seconds, and then that part was over. And then afterwards they give you some sleeping pills and eye drops and all types of stuff because they want you to, for the most part, try to be completely asleep for the first day, which was really hard because I got the news about going back to work that day. My phone was just being blown up from the people at my job, and then from the people who were the owners of my job. It was just like a lot of messages going on at once, and so I was trying to keep up with that, but also like I needed to sleep and keep my eyes closed so I could heal. But I got through the first day. There's definitely a lot of eye drops. So like I had 4 different eye drops. One I had to do every 4 times a day. 2 I had to do, I think it was like 2 times a day, or 1 or 2 times a day, and then 1 that I was having to do every hour or 2. So I got into the routine of it, but it was definitely a lot of eye drops. I went to the surgery with low expectations. Like, basically it's kind of scary. You sign your life away practically, like that if you were blinded or anything by the surgery, or the surgery makes your vision worse, that you can't sue them. So I went into it thinking that I was going to come out with like a worse vision than I went in possibly, and everything just turned out perfect. I didn't experience a lot of discomfort afterwards, which is something that is pretty common with the surgery, but maybe it's because I stayed on top of the eye drops, or I was just lucky, I'm not sure. But I have not had very much discomfort at all these past couple of weeks. I have had a few times where my eyes are kind of dry, but it's mainly been my fault because there's times where I haven't been keeping up as strictly with all of my eye drops. So yeah, now I have perfect vision, 20/20 vision, and it's very weird to get used to. Honestly, at night I'm used to taking out my contacts before I go to sleep and putting on my glasses, and I feel like it's a time for my brain to like slowly slow down because my vision isn't as good when I had my glasses on, especially it's terrible with the contacts off. It's easy for me to like shut my brain off and go to sleep. So that is one thing I've had to get used to, is that it's harder for my brain to turn off at night sometimes and fall asleep just because it's not used to the visual stimulation all the time, which I guess if you have been experienced having bad vision before, it would probably be hard to understand that, but it's like my brain kind of liked that less visual stimulation before I went to sleep, so that it was like a signal to start like shutting down for the night. Yeah, but other than that, like I have no complaints at all. I'm so glad that I got the surgery done. It's definitely pricey, but at least with these types of surgeries, because they're not covered by insurance typically. My place that I went to, they offered financing for it, and so I have like 18 months or whatever to pay it off. Yeah, I'm just glad that I am fortunate enough to be able to afford to do this, that this is something that's available, or I'm not super blind anymore. There's a lot of stuff they recommend you don't do afterwards, so like I haven't gone swimming or stuff like that. Like I went with my friends hiking the other week and they went cliff jumping, but I didn't go cliff jumping because I was not going to do anything that would possibly put my eyes exposure to get infections and stuff like that from being in that kind of water, which they don't recommend you to go swimming or open your eyes in water, I believe, for like 6 weeks after your surgery. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions about it, let me know down below. I hope that this was interesting and I answered all the questions that you might have been wondering about that. If it's something that you've thought about doing, I would definitely recommend, like I said, if you are looking for someone who does this type of surgery near Sacramento, I definitely would recommend my doctor, Dr. Lang. He works in downtown Sacramento, and he was really great. All his staff was really great, and I would definitely in a heartbeat do this again if I had to. So that's it for this video. This is kind of a long Friday Reads video, but hope you guys have a great weekend and stay safe and have lots of good reading times, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!